saw two movies last weekend. One is the only sequel that will give Bad Guys 2 a run for its money in how many new furries it can create. The second is one of my most anticipated movies of the whole year. Why don't we start with the DeviantArt fodder? 9 years after awakening something unspeakable in an entire generation, Zootopia 2 is finally here. And while it may have been long for us, this takes place only a week after the events of the first movie, where Nick and Judy are still trying to prove themselves by taking on the case of a mysterious snake. Now, I liked the first Zootopia quite a bit. Yes, the commentary was more than a little bit heavy-handed, and it's got one of the worst twist villains from an era where Disney was just throwing twist villains at us like cigarettes out of a car window. But I stand by it being one of the funniest Disney villains of the 2010s. The Godfather scene cracks me up to this day. So I went into Zootopia 2 with reasonable expectations, expecting to not love it, but like it enough. And that's pretty much what I got. Zootopia 2 is far from a perfect sequel. It's no Puss in Boots: The Last Wish by any means. Fortunately, it is quite a bit better than Disney Animation's track record so far this decade. What worked the most about the first movie also work here. Namely, the leads. Nick and Judy are great characters. Their chemistry is just so much fun to watch, and I like how their relationship is tested a lot more this time around. You really want to see them solve this case and maybe sloppily make out afterwards to celebrate. Wait, what was that? What did I say? The movie also does what any good sequel should do and actually expand on the world, adding more to the lore and exploring how Zootopia, the city, actually works, rather than just doing the exact same things in the exact same place with the exact same characters all over again. For example, this time around, reptiles are added into the mix, and they explain why we never saw them around in the first one. One of these reptiles is a snake named Gary, voiced by Ke Huy Quan, and he's about as funny and endearing as you come to expect from him. And of course, it's still pretty funny. If you were surprised by the Breaking Bad reference in the first movie, well, this time we get direct references to both Silence of the Lambs and The Shining. No, not that. Also, the sheep lady gets like 2 scenes here, and they're both unironically far better than anything she gets in the first movie. But my favorite line has got to be from Chief Bogo, who's sadly absent for most of the movie, when he responds to Nick bringing up his traumatic backstory as an excuse. It is just so blunt.
You are wondering if they make any reference to that comic? Yes, but you will only get it if you have reached the most advanced levels of brain rot. So, basically, me.
Truth be told, I haven't seen the first Zootopia in quite a bit, so I can't say for sure if I like this one better. But this is one of the only current Disney franchises I actually want to see more of. Mainly because I really want the Fox and Bunny to fuck. Now on to Wake Up Dead Man, the third movie in the Knives Out series from Rian Johnson, and once again we get Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, who suspects foul play and has eliminated no suspects. When a volatile preacher is killed in a seemingly impossible crime, it's up to Blanc to find the culprit among the latest ensemble. Okay, I'm not going to do that the whole time. Knives Out is, to me, one of those movies that just keeps getting better on every single rewatch. And you might disagree, but it is the perfect Thanksgiving movie. I know Glass Onion's a lot more divisive with how over the top it was, but I love it all the same, even if it is just a slight step down. But if you weren't a fan, I've got good news. Wake Up Dead Man strikes a much more serious tone right from the start. This is easily the darkest of the Knives Out trilogy, and it's packed with plenty of slow, unnerving scenes that are allowed to play themselves out. Though there are no shortage of big laugh moments either. Just an example, there's a line Josh O'Connor has in the beginning that gets probably the biggest laugh from an audience I've heard all year. And yeah, O'Connor is undeniably the core of this movie, playing a young priest who's very easy to relate to and root for, even if you aren't religious. There are a few really solid moments, including this phone call scene, that I think would have affected me a lot more if my inner Reddit atheist wasn't such an all-encompassing asshole. It's still a great scene though, and I really like the way this movie explores and kind of dissects the pros and cons of religion as a whole. If there's anything Wake Up Dead Man does weaker than the other two, it's gotta be the ensemble cast. None of them are bad, but they don't have a whole lot to do or are as memorable as the casts in the other two. Josh Brolin, Glenn Close, and Kerry Washington are the only ones who really stood out aside from the leads and the eventual culprit. But I don't think I need to tell you Daniel Craig is just fantastic. In fact, I think this might be his best performance of Blanc so far. Every scene of his, from his introduction to the unconventional way he reveals the culprit, is a highlight. I am glued to the screen whenever he is talking. I got lucky to be able to see this in theaters, and I'll be sure to check it out again when it comes out on Netflix later this month. So thanks for watching. If for some reason you want more of my opinions, be sure to subscribe and follow me on Letterboxd, and I will see you when I feel like it.